President Biden made comments in these recent days saying the U.S. remains open to direct talks with Tehran, that, quote, there is still space for diplomacy. Is this a savvy move, or is the White House being played for a SAP, Foundation for the Defense of Democracy's fellow? Claudia Rosett is joining us now from Washington. Claudia, you've watched rogue regimes like Iran for a very long time. How would Tehran interpret such an offer from the White House?
Oh, basically it's an offer of yet more time. Iran is playing for time while it develops its nuclear program, while it makes bombs. And this is a chance to play it out for a little more time.
Well, Claudia, we've given talks a chance under the Bush administration, now under first-term Obama administration. We've had, I guess, behind-the-scene talks, Valerie Jarrett with the regime. So while we play for time, we're also imposing sanctions. The White House says they're tough. Is that your take?
Well, the problem is too much still slips through. They are not so tough that they've stopped Iran's nuclear program at all. They are having an effect on Iran's economy, but are they actually having the effect that we want? Shutting down the nuclear program, and also it would be nice if it would stop the missile developments, the terrorists sponsoring around the world. Remember, these are the folks who, while their foreign minister has just been saying, we just want peaceful engagement, we're a rational country, whose Revolutionary Guards Quds Force was organizing an assassination of the Saudi ambassador in Washington not so long ago. And the problem with sanctions is it's a dynamic thing where it becomes not that hard for things to slip through.
Now, you've done some original reporting, very interesting work, on how Iran is evading sanctions via ship. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. Iran has a large merchant fleet, both oil tankers and cargo ships, container ships, so on. And the U.S. sanctioned the merchant fleet back in 2008, and then blacklisted its main oil tanker fleet this past July. And this has cut back greatly on its traffic, but it hasn't stopped it at all. And I took recently, just for an example of the kind of problem you see, a ship which right now is in the Mediterranean off Cyprus called the Tortue. The Tortue, sort of the trifecta of violations as sanctions go. The Tortue has been shuttling over the past year between Iran and Syria, both of which are under U.S. sanctions. Iran is also under layers of UN sanctions. And Egypt has been waving it through the Suez Canal. It called in this latest trip, it called in January at the Syrian port of Tartus, which it's been to Syria a number of times the past year. This is very disturbing. It's in the past, it looks like it's been picking up loads of oil from Syria for onward sale to benefit the regime of Assad, President Assad in Syria.
So, Claudia, if sanctions are not watertight, airtight, like you've reported, so the million-dollar question is, what can this White House do if it really wants to go down this road of talking on the one hand and sanctions on the other? What can we do?
There has to be, if sanctions really are to be the tool of choice, and they don't have a great record actually. Remember oil for food. But if sanctions are to be the tool of choice, these have got to be much more ferociously enforced. The thing with the UN sanctions is the UN depends on every member state to enforce any UN sanctions resolution. So it's up to Syria to enforce the sanctions on Iran. It's up to Egypt on its own turf. And while the U.S. has been trying to greatly amplify its ability to shut down Iranian business, there are a lot of countries that are just waving it through. Again, as this ship exemplifies. Now, this ship is not actually even under U.S. sanctions. It's one of a set of ships that have been running between Iran and Syria. Some of them are under sanctions. In the case of this ship, it's a further illustration of this sliding door game that Iran plays, where as U.S. or even UN authorities chase things like these ships that are ferrying actually who knows what along with oil around, Iran has been renaming and reflagging these ships. So as, say, U.S. authorities punctiliously work through U.S. laws to ascertain who precisely owns the ship, Iran simply transfers the ownership among shell companies. This particular ship, the Tor 2, has had over the past 14 months 3 names and 5 flags. Okay? It's currently off Cyprus. It appears flagged to Iran at the moment, after being flagged to Malta, Bolivia, Sierra Leone, and Togo. Currently appears flagged to Iran. However, it is signaling most recently as still flagged to Togo. Now, this is of interest to U.S. sanctions enforcers. It's not of much interest to the Syrian authorities, who just hosted this ship at their port, or apparently to the Egyptian authorities. So this is the great, Claudia, big sieve.
3 names, 5 flags, sanctions not working, and yet Vice President Biden wants to keep talking. Foundation for the Defense of Democracies fellow Claudia Rosett, thank you for being with us.